Stars Podcast. I am not your girl, Sandra, but I am Claire. Sandra's out on vacation this weekend. She's out literally touching some grass. I'm so happy for her.
I love that for her.
It's beautiful. We are presented by PointsBet this week. As always, use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. So, no Sandra, but what a joy, what a treat, what a dream. I am joined by Lesley and Emily of Gal Pal Sports this week. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Isn't it so nice to live in the same general area so I can hit you guys up and be like, hey, do you want to come down and we can be in a room together and talk Red Stars?
Yeah, that's
not
coming back your way.
Right.
We're in the same place.
It's pretty wild. Have you guys moved to the Chicagoland area when?
In March.
In March.
So it's only been like 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Is wild.
It feels
1 to 2 warm
It feels
weather
longer.
Yeah. It does feel longer. It feels like you guys have been around. Well, I guess you've been in the Midwest for a little bit, so maybe that's just me projecting.
We dated the city of Chicago for
a little bit.
bit.
It's true.
From Michigan.
Right, before making the commitment.
Yeah, decided to go long term.
Yeah.
week. Be sure.
So far, so good, though.
Yeah. Feeling good?
You haven't spent a winter here, though?
No, not yet.
No.
We got the tail end of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
In March.
Yeah. We got like the second, third, and fourth winters that came.
Oh, I know. I hate
Yeah.
fake spring. Fake spring is the worst.
We also did Michigan winter.
I'll say, okay,
Lakeside,
the
which
one thing that you guys did not get and maybe are in for next time is obviously Chicago is at the easternmost point of the central time zone. Mm-hmm. The darkness is a little bit different. That's a little bit different than Michigan because Michigan's an eastern time zone. So
the tail end of the eastern.
Right, so you get a little bit more light than most people. So
it was definitely hurting. Like when we first got here, it was like, oh, it's still dark.
The darkness is tough.
It's dark now.
It's like my little sister lives in Boston, and we bond over being on like the easternmost point of a time zone because it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Just take a picture of the sun and
put
it on the wall.
Put it up on your wall. All right, but we are here to talk Red Stars. So Chicago Red Stars, they make it through their 5-game gap. They did not lose a single one of those, which is pretty impressive. They cap it off with a 1-0 win over the Orlando Pride. Great. Some mixed emotions about that one, but let's start with the good. Mallory Pugh keeps her scoring streak alive.
pew, pew, pew.
Immediately makes, I thought it was funny, Just Women's Sports did like a highlight package yesterday, like showing off their new highlight package deal, and that goal from Orlando was the Orlando game was already in it, and I was just like, it's a great goal.
It's
just
a really
immediately
good
pull it
goal.
out.
It was a really good goal.
It was a really good goal.
And she's really fun to watch this season overall.
Yeah.
I'm going to say taking photos every time. It's just, okay, Mal's on a run.
Mal.
And the number of series I have that are just Mal, and then
ends in a goal celebration.
usually,
Yeah.
which is amazing. It's like, okay, this is fun.
Yeah, I actually want to talk goal celebration for 1 second because that also made the highlight package, which I thought was pretty funny because this will be a serious comment a little bit later in the show. But the Red Stars this year are short and getting shorter. They're not a very tall team right now, Pugh being one of the shortest. And it's really throwing off the celebration game because they like to do like gang jump
Big
into the
jumps,
arm, big jumps. But Pugh is recently overshooting her teammates. And I noticed that on last Sunday, they kept it on the ground.
Yeah.
And she just kind of did like a hey, kind of an arm motion. And I wonder if they're like, we can't handle the jumps anymore.
Did something happen?
There's a lot of injuries happening, so
we
can't lose anyone else for going too far in a long jump.
If on the big jump. And they can jump real high,
They
too.
can. They're soccer players.
Yeah. So I that's one to watch, honestly, for this weekend, is I do think that there's a development happening, which is that the Red Stars are too short for jumping goal celebrations, so they're adjusting.
Pivot that into a choreographed or something, so we're still having fun with it.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
but maybe
give us some
safer.
NFL.
Yeah.
I think the best goal celebration in the Pugh era that they've ever done is they did do a home run one once with like a pitch, and she
I love it.
hit
Blasted
it
out of the park.
Yeah, hit it out of the park. So that was pretty great. But I think that's only happened once.
Yeah, I'd take like some bowling pin action.
Yeah, that would be good too. I like it when they pretend to do a different sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
After a
it's
goal.
The fishing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna count
fishing's really
fishing as a
good.
sport.
I love the
Oh,
bobsled.
the bobsled's a
Ooh.
classic.
Yeah,
bobsled.
yeah. So
Claire, I think we need to rank these at some point.
we probably should.
I don't know if it's at
I
an
know the
article
Red Stars. The
or-
Red Stars frequently, because in the last couple of years, scoring has become so infrequent. They just kind of go like, yes, they get really excited.
They score goals now.
Yes, so they do, and especially one particular person is scoring goals. And that was always a thing during the Sam Kerr era, which was like, is she going to do the backflip? And she did do it a couple of times, but it always had to feel feel right. Like, it had to
can't
be
do that for every goal.
It had to be a game winner, maybe, or like a late goal,
breakthrough of some
Exactly.
sort,
It had to have that emotional jump to finally get the backflip. So
The backflip also makes me nervous, though.
well, it
If
made
I-
her nervous too. After a
Yeah.
while, she was like, "My shoulder hurts. I don't know, guys. I gotta like get my
Just do a
form
little.
back."
Like, priorities. Again, let's not get injured in the celebration.
Yeah, but I do want to bring up a little bit get statsy a little bit about how they've been playing over the first third of the season, because they're sitting tied in first right now with the San Diego Wave in one less game.
I'll take it.
Yes, for sure. Getting through this stretch. We'll see some other teams, I think, start to find form a little bit more as the year goes on, but get the points while you can. And I think it does actually it coincides with the Pugh conversation, because like I put this in our outline. If you're looking for a thing that sets Chicago apart right now, it is actually high efficiency goal scoring, which is kind of remarkable,
Yeah,
right?
they weren't really known for that, were they?
No. Well, and it's also funny too, because it's not resulting in like 3 goals a game. No. It's resulting in 1 goal off of a limited amount of opportunities.
Yeah.
Which seems like that will run out eventually.
I think so.
And you can it indicates what a good finisher Pugh is. And that if you look at her stats, I think her goals scored versus XG at this moment is like a +3.
Wow.
Meaning that she's outperforming her XG, which you can look at that a number of different ways. A lot of times people do revert down generally to the statistical chances that they're creating, but it also just goes to show like what a good finisher she is. Like that goal against Orlando,
Just boink.
not a high XG chance. I think both teams ended under like sub 1 goal in their XG chances, but when you have someone like Pugh, it was also a sure goal from the moment the ball touched her feet.
She gets the ball. You're just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they gave her space.
Right.
She had time to turn and look and take that shot, which is, I think, a symptom or an indicator of she knows she's not getting the help sometimes to make more chances.
Sure.
So this time, I'm just going to take it. And,
I'll do it
and
myself.
it works out. And she can.
Yeah. I think that's definitely true later in games for sure. And we even saw that in this match. There were a number of times when Pugh would be on the dribble and she would just she would like see that it was her and like 4 Orlando defenders, and she would just be like, I'm going to turn around and pass the ball back. But I thought the first 20 minutes of the game, I thought Chicago was all over the Pride. They did not look like the team on short rest. I thought they looked really strong. And then something bad happened.
The epidemic.
Yeah,
of
I think
ACL
it's
tears.
the 7th ACL, not just an ACL, but also an MCL, ACL and MCL. Kayla Sharples. The Pride get a ball in behind. Abby Kim, who I thought was their most dangerous attacker on the whole day. Kayla Sharples comes in, and, there's something here, and I maybe the one thing I want to highlight about the relationship between tired legs and something like an ACL tear is I think there isn't necessarily science or data to support that the ACL is quote unquote more likely to tear if you are tired.
Right.
However, you tackle differently when you're tired.
Yep.
Yes.
You maybe take an extra long stride. You are like one step a little bit slower. Your angle is maybe a little bit less secure. Those factors go into a plant leg collapsing or the weight not being quite right. And so you just have to wonder if Kayla Sharples was not on her 5th game in 2 weeks, if she would have been a little bit more in control of her own balance, and therefore this would not have happened.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you look at ACL tears, a lot of the time, it's like when they talk about prevention, it's like, you got to do your leg exercises.
Right.
You got to rest. And when there's not really time for training or rest when you're playing 5 games in 2 weeks, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But I do think it is more than just the rest, to your point. I think the potential for more awkward interactions.
Yeah.
An awkward step, you're not gathering your feet under you the way you normally would. There's so much going on there, plus the turf. You put all those pieces together, especially in this league, and it's going to be worse.
Yeah, I agree.
Your numbers are going to go up.
Well, right. I mean, and we talked about that in the context of the Washington games, right? What was not supposed to happen in this stretch was there were not supposed to be 2 midweek games. There was supposed to just be the one. It doesn't help that one of those was at Segra Field, which is very turfy, as we know.
Very turfy.
And yeah, I mean, you can't blame it on the lack of rest, but you also can. And I think that is the tough place to be. And certainly for the player too, because Kayla Sharples was having a huge year.
Such a great year.
For the Red Stars.
She was critical to that back line so far this season, has been holding it down, is one of the taller members of the team.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, they're losing their big and talls.
Losing height.
Yeah,
Losing
they're
their
losing
height
height daily.
And I think it's a big impact potentially on the back line. They did well to cover over the last game against Orlando, but longer term, you do wonder what's going to happen to slot in there and shift to adjust long term.
Yeah, as it was explained to me, I actually just got off the phone with Chris Petrucelli because I missed the press conference yesterday. And the way the 3-back was explained to me is, first of all, it was a good conversation. It was short, but so Chicago intended to go with the 3-back even before Petrucelli joined. So that's, I believe, a Rade idea, who is the goalkeeping coach and was the interim head coach in the off season. So Petrucelli came in with the 3-back already in mind. Now, the personnel that they wanted for that 3-back was obviously going to be Tierna Davidson, probably Casey Kruger.
Yeah.
And then he said, maybe someone like Kayla Sharples, maybe you work Zoe Morse in. You have options, right? Mm-hmm. But your cornerstone is Tierna Davidson and then Casey Kruger. Now they have neither of those, none of the three even with Sharples. And they only now literally have 3 center backs on the roster, which is tough when you want to run a 3-back system. And it's a shame because the 3-back system has been working.
Yes.
Like the way they've been able to just close it down.
Right. Obviously for this weekend, they're going to go with 3. From what I've heard, they're going to go with Amanda Kowalski slotting in. If anybody else gets hurt, though, they have to go to a back 4 because they just don't even have the center backs available.
And that's tough, too, because now you're spending time and energy adjusting to a new system, new format. It affects everyone. It's going to affect the help that Mal gets on the other end. It's going to affect how you transition to offense and who's coming back and reestablishing that communication as a group. It's just a big adjustment, and it's a pain to have to do.
We're pretty deep into the season now.
Yeah, we're over a third into the season, which is pretty wild. I think it is difficult. If you go into a back 4, you probably end up kind of in a back 3 anyway, because you're going to need one of your outside backs to push high, right?
Yep.
You're going to need one of your outside backs to stay back to help. And then it's like it becomes less balanced than it even was before. Bianca St. George has been really helpful pushing high. But you also, if you have pace in those wing backs, they can get back. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing sort of a proposition. But it's really tough. I think, you don't want to... It's like you don't want to count out the group that has already done so well. Mm-hmm. But positionally, where their injuries have come from is brutal.
It's not fair.
No.
About it. It's like we could get a little distribution on that.
Right. It's like you have 2 center backs of a very similar physical profile. You have a number 6 and another central / outside defender out because they're pregnant. It's just that whole spine is really, really tough. And when they adjusted, and they did a nice job.
They did.
You could tell. You could tell they'd lost the height, and so Orlando started to get into more dangerous areas on crosses because Sharples was so huge defending the ball in the air.
Yep.
And so it just became this big, like, we're gonna link arms. Mm-hmm. Danny Colaprico came in. She pushed back. She was like, I'm gonna help. I'm here to help.
Feels a little bit like Party Mom, a little bit of I'm here. I will help corral.
Yeah,
everything.
right. Exactly.
Have everyone okay.
It's like one hand on each shoulder and just like we've got
this.
Yeah, and then Nair in the back, kind of telling everybody what to do. And I think that it worked, and I think it can even work this weekend, but the international break, I think, is going to come with some questions for sure.
Absolutely. It's going to be tough. And, again, folks are tired. It's hot.
It's very hot.
We're getting into water break season.
Yeah, we are
Yes.
getting in the Midwest. Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, very curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Before we switch over to kind of chatting about kind of more general things, I do want to talk a little bit. I know we talk about the schedule ad nauseum. I think everybody at this point is a little bit just like, we get it, the schedule's bad, but
do you know?
But
Do you know how
yeah,
bad it is?
getting into sort of the nitty gritty of that, I feel like I've learned some stuff about the way a week is supposed to work for these teams through this process. I feel like players have done a nice job articulating that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I did want to highlight, and I tweeted this out after the game, but I want to read it as well, which is just, I asked Alyssa Nair after the match about, the question was more, is there frustration at all that this is the situation that you've been put into? And the answer was a little bit yes and no. The no part being that you can't let yourself get too frustrated, otherwise you'll start losing games. And I think that we've seen that actually with some teams have really struggled with the mental aspect of this kind of a schedule, and it gets into your head and it gets a little bit more emotional and you get more frustrated and it's harder to see your way through. And so for the Red Stars, a little bit, they were like, you can't get too low about this, you can't get too mad, you just kind of have to take it one day at a time and execute, which I get. But Nair also, she said, I'll just go ahead and read it. It's up on the screen. I do think it's something that needs to be addressed in the offseason. I think it's not just us. It's Washington has had game after game after game. Last time we played Orlando, they were coming off their big stretch of games. So I think as a league, as a front office, whoever's in charge of the schedule does need to, owners, GMs, whoever it is, need to come together and put together something that makes sense, because this league should be the best league in the world. And unfortunately, you're not getting to see the best out of teams, the best out of players, because it's not just the games. I mean, there's no time to train, so players can't get back from injury. Players don't have time to get built up minutes in, and then you've got to play. You're only getting minutes in the game. From your guys' perspective, from what you've seen over the last month or so, does it seem like you're seeing I mean, there's an obvious answer to this. Teams aren't playing at their best. But even just for you as a viewer, is there a sense of fatigue even just watching it for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, you see it in the teams that have been playing for longer stretches, that it's just like the legs aren't there, and then you see it translate into their play, where it's just that slower step, the calls start not going your way because you're getting into tackles a little recklessly. Like, it makes a bad product to watch.
Yeah.
I think the reckless tackle is a thing. When you're more tired, you're more likely to take risky, stabs at the ball. You're more likely to, do something out of frustration. And I don't want to watch a game where everyone's getting clattered into all the time. Or
Right.
at least I don't want every game to be like that. It's one thing when it's a rivalry and we're having a more physical game and it still feels safe. When it crosses that line to starting to feel unsafe, that's not fun to watch anymore.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to keep up with.
And then the next question is Chicago specific. Was there any surprise from you guys that they've done so well in this stretch?
Yes.
Yeah? Find it surprising?
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like the Red Stars of past have always been a team that kind of peak late. Mm-hmm. And so to have this ridiculous stretch in the beginning of the season and have them do so well, it feels promising, but then, of course, the other shoe drops and they lose another center back. So
True. All right, well, the next question is, do you think it's sustainable?
not with the amount of personnel they have right now.
Yeah, you think the wheels are gonna start to come off?
I think the wheels might come off. It's not that I don't believe in the leadership and the folks that they have. It's just like you run out of gas at some point.
That is true. Well, if you guys did want to believe in the Red Stars and even say bet on the Red Stars,
Is there a place we could go for that?
Queen of the segue.
Wow.
I'm going to bet on the Red. Well, I'm not literally going to bet on the Red Stars. But metaphorically, spiritually, I'm betting on the Red Stars. But the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app. You can see it on the hat right there. And use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that now, you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a 50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice out of the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making more than a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. Download the PointsBet app right now and use the promo code CHGO. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants to help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services. Take care of your mental. But if you want to have some fun with the women's game, PointsBet is the way to go. And it helps us out too.
Yay.
Help Claire.
Yeah, help me. Help me. Help me. So I do want to talk a little bit about the end of this game before we move on to other stuff, because there's some funny stuff. This is where I'm going to do my little pitch to go to an NWSL game, specifically go to a Chicago Red Stars game, to watch Mallory Pugh play. And this is not just an appeal to watch her score amazing goals, but there's something, a player like that is the kind of player that you wish that she could just have a camera on her at all times.
Yes.
To see her movements off the ball. She's very expressive on the field. There was a moment, I just want to highlight a moment before we move on, of Mal Pugh, and she does this sometimes, which is, we've talked about this before, Pugh gets fouled quite a lot.
Yes.
And she's very small. And sometimes even just if she has a physical mixed match against a player, she will be on the wrong side of that and would turn to the referee with something of an appeal to help me. You know, I'm in pain.
Small.
Yes. But there was a moment, I just wanted to highlight a moment at the end of this game, and I talked about how sometimes Pugh would dribble up at the end, see there was nothing going on, turn around, pass it back, which makes sense, especially because of how tired they are. But there was a moment, and this is not the first time she's done this season, is she got clattered a little bit by Tony Presley, and specifically Tony Presley stuck kind of a foot out to try to get the ball out of the air. Pugh did not feel like that was safe behavior around her, and she turned to the AR and she kind of flipped one hand up, flipped the other hand up, kicked a leg out, just kind of like, so she's just gonna just do whatever she wants, huh?
Like Elaine
Do I need to
dancing
do
from
this
Seinfeld.
on the floor?
It was like a pantomime of like, so she's just gonna do whatever.
We can all flail.
Yeah.
Our most flaily, and no one's
gonna call anything. Yeah. So this is not a serious appeal to the referees, because we all know what that issue is. But I thought that was a good moment, and it does highlight. Like, I really do recommend, if you get the chance to see Pugh play in person, it's not just the play. She's the kind of player that you want to watch for 90 minutes.
Fun to watch.
She is fun to watch.
Bonus content.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would have a camera on her all the time.
Yeah.
Pew cam would be a blast. Mic her up while we're at it. I would watch that all day.
Oh, yeah.
1,000%.
Double mic up.
Speaking of where you can see Pugh doing more cool stuff, I do want to talk international break a little bit, because we're about to go into it.
That's true.
Sandra and I will probably talk about it a little bit more next week, because we'll be in it. But some rosters came out, right?
They sure did.
They sure did, and fairly uncontroversially for the Red Stars themselves.
Yeah,
staying in that purview. Pugh and Nair both make full team U.S. Women's National Team roster for World Cup qualifying.
Nair's back, baby.
Nair is back. Pugh is back. Kind of a no-brainer. No question marks there, right?
Nope.
Even when the provisional list came out, looked like those are the Red Stars that are going to be going.
Yep.
Bianca St. George is back in the mix in Canada, which is awesome.
Very cool.
Really good to see. She was someone who was in with the team, and then she had a meniscus injury that knocked her out really of even sort of being a prospective option for the Olympics. And then last season did not get a lot of playing time, but has been excellent this year. And so it's very exciting.
Holding down that sideline quite a bit.
Yeah.
When she's in, and when she's out, you can tell she's missing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's been too bad that she had those couple weeks where she wasn't feeling well, but it seemed like she didn't really miss a beat when she came back against Orlando. And then we found out that rookie Ava Cook, is going to be joining the U23s.
The baby.
Which it's exciting, I think. She's a player that I don't know if she was on a ton of people's radars going into this season. She is still the assist leader. She is still the personal assist leader of the league with 3. And she is not under the age of 23. They were allowed, I think, 5 overage players it's a friendly tournament. It's not a big
Under 23, but
yeah. But it's very cool to see, and she's a really interesting story in that she's like true Midwest, grew up in Michigan. She played for Grand Valley State University in D2.
small college.
Small school, very good D2 school, but not something that you see a lot. I mean, we talk a lot about Bethany Balser being an NAIA player.
Too.
Yeah,
Bethany
it's true.
Balser.
Actually, that's so true. Wow, that's a good point.
Michigan represent.
Michigan represent.
Go Blue.
And making the jump, but it's a similar thing with D2. She's played 1 year in D1 for Michigan State and then gets drafted by the Red Stars, and it seems like it's a really, really good fit. And so I think that's very cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, you do love to see someone come out of a smaller school and like not the Stanfords or the FSUs of the NCAA and just be like, yeah, no, we're here too.
Yeah, even just a non-traditional route, I think, is a good sign, and it's a sign that those opportunities exist at different levels. So even if, coming out of high school, you didn't get to D1 or something, that doesn't necessarily mean you're done. It doesn't have to. And I would say 5-10 years ago, I don't know that we had that hope for players coming out of D2 schools.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it is important for a number of reasons that there be a more diversified route to playing in the pros, not least that it decentralizes power structures a little bit so that no coach at a youth or a college level can say, you have to play for me in order to be seen. We can use that after last year. I agree. I 100% agree. So I think great story. Not that I even want to put Grand Valley State down because I think that they're a very good program.
No, they're strong sports school.
Yeah, very strong sports school. But the idea of going from D2 to D1 to NWSL in a 2-year span is pretty wild, and then being rewarded with that U23 call up is great. It's great to see.
Success story.
Yeah,
it
keeps her in the mix for the senior team.
It does, and I think for Chicago it's great because it keeps her playing through the break. Yeah. It keeps that momentum going. It gives her some new players to play with, and I think that hopefully, because Pugh's going to be gone for a number of weeks in July, you need other players to step up and be able to take that next step. And so I think Cook is going to be a big part of that.
Quickly, is this the moment you were talking about for the Mal Pugh?
I don't know. I saw that. I wonder a little bit, but this is a good example of what I'm talking about. Is she operates at a speed on the field where everything around her is comedy. Yes. So it's like she's like dribbling the ball and she's just like either like a ref is doing something weird and she's like okay, or her teammates aren't where they need to be and she's like okay, or a defender's doing something crazy and she's like if you want,
it's a performance.
Like it totally is.
The field is her stage.
Yeah.
And she I think like really lights up, and to your point is having a blast.
Yeah, and it is also, I think people deal with those feelings of competition a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. There are some players that run a little hot and get very intense. Mm-hmm. There are some players who like try to do the opposite. And for Pugh, it's like when something goes wrong, she's like, this is comedy to me. Yeah.
This game is a farce.
Yes. Exactly.
As an Italian, as someone who talks with their hands a lot, I appreciate
just this. It is.
Hey.
There's just something about it. At the end of the rain game, she was also getting fouled a lot in that match. And she's kind of the last foul, she just like threw her hands up and just like lay on the ground and was just like, it's over. I'm done. That's it. You killed me successfully. But yeah, no, she's a delight. She's a delight to watch play. I'm trying to think of a good ag seg for this one. I'm struggling.
This. Land that plane.
All right. So what else will make you feel like you are so in control of your day and the game of soccer that you can also see the world around you as comedy because you are so fueled and full and powered and ready to go.
Wow. What is this amazing product?
Tell us, Claire.
Is OWYN. OWYN stands for Only What You Need. It is a 100% plant-based protein shake that gives you nutrition that works as hard as you do. All of their products are free of artificial ingredients, allergen-friendly, no gluten or dairy, easily digestible. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to say that Mal Pugh's probably had a protein shake in her lifetime.
I
probably
think
one
that's
or
a
two.
fair bet.
Yeah. I mean, she's not like the biggest, bulkiest player in NWSL, but I feel like that's a safe bet, right?
Yeah. You got to recover. You got to get your macros.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a thing that athletes
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's not like you get to eat in the middle of the game.
No.
So
you sneak something. in
right,
there.
like a little mustard packet or something.
Yeah.
But
Oh man.
Delicious mustard.
delicious
packets.
mustard
I love
halfway
I love
through
a mid-match mustard.
That's
packet.
right. That's
I would
right.
be the weird one sneaking in like
The cramp
a
killer.
honey mustard. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, I just want to be a little sweet.
just need a little.
So if you want to be like Mal Pugh and be fueled and ready to go, and you can just see the world around you like comedy, Owen and CHGO have partnered up to give you an awesome offer. You can get 20% off your first purchase at liveowen.live. Oh my gosh.
You got this.
I got this. liveowen.com. That's liveown.com with the code CHGO20. You can try it yourself. So
I want to point you out this comment from the
let's
chat
see what we
from
got.
Flange Slammer.
Oh, yeah. So that's oh, goodness gracious. I don't even know how to comment on this.
Well, do you want to read it for our
yes, for sure.
listeners?
So we have a good comment here about possible CBs, and we'll get in. I talked to Chris Petroselli about this a little bit before we hopped on, but yeah, the Pride just bought out Amy Turner's contract. If we're looking for a healthy CB, though it sounds like she's off back to England after a maybe not so good time here with the Pride /NWSL /Cromwell, that stands for Amanda Cromwell, who is currently suspended and is under investigation for retaliation with the Orlando Pride. So we can get into this conversation right now. That's no problem. When I spoke to Chris Petroselli, he kind of laid it out for me. You got three options, right? You can deal with the CB problem internally, which is you move players around, you change your system, you figure it out from within the team. Other option is you trade within the league, though he did not sound super optimistic about that. Things are a little bit cagey as teams are trying to figure out their final rosters. And I think to a certain extent, I don't think Chicago wants to move any players. That's not really the answer for them right now, is not to trade a player for a player, because that doesn't make sense with their roster construction at this moment either. Or you go outside of the league, you go into the transfer market, you have to pay a transfer fee, so you have to make sure that you have the money available for that. You have to use an international spot. Now, we know that they did trade for an international spot. Don't have any updates on what that's used for, but I assume that they have somebody already in mind. And then the other option is you look for an American abroad. Mm-hmm. That might be the easiest is the wrong term, but if you're looking to buy somebody out and you don't want to use the international spot, you look for someone who won't take that up and is not currently in the league. Then you get into discovery rights. Don't know if you have those. You have to negotiate that maybe with like whatever NWSL team does have it. I don't know. I think at this moment for the team, they are trying to get through tomorrow and then figuring out what the hell to do next. So I don't know if there's a perfect answer. Is there a particular thing that is there a wish list for you guys that you would like to see from the Red Stars?
The transfer window is open.
Yeah.
And so I would love to see a little effort. Maybe it's just that longing look I have over at OL Reign, where Laura Harvey is just like, oh, do you want players? Here, I have this many. I think I would love to see the transfer market.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of OL Reign, it's like too bad that they're stacking up on attackers, because if they were stacking up on defenders, they might have one that they could
spare.
move. Yeah. I mean, Angel City traded with the Reign when Sarah Gordon went down, right? They brought in Madison Hammond. So Laura Harvey is always amenable to a trade. We know this famously.
Loves a trade.
Yeah, but they don't really have any defenders that they want to move. I had flagged, I thought that, speaking of Orlando, they're in a trade freeze right now, though. And again, I don't have any background information. I'm just basing this off of what we all see.
Yeah.
I wonder if the buying out of Turner's contract maybe fulfilled the issue of the trade freeze. I don't know if eventually that will be loosened once they've come to a conclusion with Turner.
Once the dust settles there.
Yeah, exactly. But I was wondering if Megan Montefusco might be interested in coming home. She's a Naperville kid.
We love a local kid.
Yeah, she got married in Chicago last year. That would be a player to maybe keep an eye on. But yeah, I don't know I don't know. So ultimately, what they're going with now, they're going to go with, barring like any freak accident on the way to Kansas City.
Knock on wood on that.
Yeah, right. Amanda Kowalski, Zoe Morrison, Tatum Milazzo, and then if they have to, they will fall into a 4-back if one of those three can't play. Maybe going into let's preview a little bit. I got updates on Morgan Gautrat and Aaron Wright, which unfortunately, guys, not really an update.
Right? Okay.
Nope.
I got excited there for a minute.
I know. Wright is feeling better, but needs to work her way back into game fitness. Gautrat's in a similar position. So essentially, because of the 5 games, and this was something that Nair talked about, because of the 5 games that they played, none of the players that are working back into fitness have gotten a chance to really train, or are going to have time with the team before going into games. So you have 2 separate things that you have to do here. You have to first get healthy, right? And healthy can mean a number of different things. Healthy can mean I can run. Yep. Healthy can mean I can pass the ball around, but nobody touch me, please. It can mean I can do full contact training, maybe a little bit of a red shirt on where just like I can do a little bit, but everybody knows to treat me lightly. And then there's like, I'm ready for the freaking NWSL gridiron, the death claw of NWSL competition. And if the only option is the jaws of death, then you have no way to work your way back.
Yeah, it's hard to go right into that.
And you're not gonna. Like, if you're using your body for your job, you're not making that jump.
No.
You're gonna work your way back slowly.
Nor should the team be asking you to, nor are they.
No.
Yeah. So where I think both players are at is they are finally, their bodies are starting to feel better. They're starting to feel like they can move again with a certain amount of mobility, which when you're dealing with a hip or you're dealing with a calf, you have to be really careful about. Even just like explosivity, sprinting, something like that can set it off right away. And then they're getting touches on the ball. Now we all remember this with Pugh with her concussion. Once you're at the point where you're training with the ball, it takes maybe 2 or 3 more weeks to get
comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. To get back into being able to do that while someone is trying
just
to
bearing down on
you. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's war.
Vanessa Giles has you in her sights.
Yeah, right. So those players are not back. They're not. I know that this week they gave the players who played full 90s over the weekend a lot of time off. I think they said like 1 full day off, and then the starters against Orlando, I think, practiced, they said, for like 20 minutes the next day, and then
massages after.
Yes, right. Exactly. They're just like go feel your feet on the ground and then come back and you're done. And then the players who did not play so much over the weekend got a little bit more time. And so it's just sort of figuring out, I think, the right balance. And what might help them? Final essay.
I don't know. What would it
What
be?
might make it easier for the Red Stars to be able to play really well tomorrow, feel good. Maybe they wake up and they feel a little bit just like, ooh, I feel a twinge.
Oh, I'm so tired.
I don't know. I feel a little bit out of sorts.
If only there was something.
If only there was something that could kind of get me going. Strava Craft Coffee.
Boom, she nailed it again.
Stuck the landing.
Starting their day off with a competitive edge, Strava CBD coffee is a game changer and has helped thousands of people to improve their overall wellness and quality of life. Strava delivers delicious, fresh roasted specialty coffee infused with organic broad spectrum CBD. CBD from hemp doesn't make you high or hungry, but it does offer real benefits that can help you feel alert and focused without the jitters, live your day more balanced with less anxiety and fewer aches and pains. Plus, including CBD in your daily routine can even help you enjoy more restful sleep so that you wake up feeling your best. The best part, Strava is all about quality. Everything is small batch, fresh, and shipped. No. Fresh and shipped straight to your door.
Amazing.
Strava offers concentrated full-spectrum CBD tinctures for those looking for a more traditional CBD format with a powerful entourage effect of benefits. CHGO listeners can save 25% off their entire purchase when you use the code CHGO25. That's 25% off your entire order at StravaCraftCoffee.com. When you use the code CHGO25 at checkout, discount coupon valid on non-subscription purchases only. 1 use per customer. Already love Strava? Subscribe and save with the Strava Coffee Club. With Strava, you're in control. Save on your favorite coffees and have them automatically delivered to your home or office on your preferred schedule. So here's maybe the big question to close this out. This is as much about us as it is about the team.
I love this.
Sure.
I have 2 questions for you, actually.
Ooh.
Equally controversial, I think.
It's too early to stir the pot.
I know, but we're doing it. We got to get this going. This is the whole point. 1, does Chicago have a rivalry with Kansas City? And then my next question might help us start one.
Sure.
Shall we start with question
Start with
Okay.
question 1. You have the floor.
I don't think they do yet.
Okay.
But I would love to see it, and I think it makes sense as a rivalry. So, traditionally, Chicago teams rival with St. Louis a bit.
Sure.
This is true.
The closest NWSL team we have there, at least in the same state, Kansas City, even though technically their field's on the Kansas City
Kind of
side,
the other side of the border.
Kansas side.
Well, and in terms of proximity, it felt like so Louisville is closer to Chicago than Kansas City is.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
I was wondering that.
And also Louisville, there was like a little bit of some friction when like McCaskill and Yuki went down there.
Yeah.
And then Chicago couldn't like get a win over Louisville. And there was like a little bit of something there maybe. But Kansas City, the vibes are like too good. I don't know. Do we like them too much?
I think it's tough because Kansas City has some beloved players.
They do.
of the United States. A.D. French, Lynn Williams. You got Sam Ewis over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's tough to immediately hate them. But if you want to set a rivalry down, you got to put that aside. You got to put your national team love aside and say,
Yeah.
no, that is my bitter enemy.
Yeah. I mean, I think if there was anything, right? I mean, I think if you wanted to base, and I do think these things have to be based like in real world stuff, right?
Yes.
You know?
Nothing's really happened yet.
Yeah, nothing's really happened. You could maybe, it's also just like it's a weird thing in women's sports because what are you going to do? Just be like, you're investing in your team too much.
Yeah.
You're spending you're spending too much money on
Ooh.
your brand new stadium and training facilities.
Now you can turn that into you bought your success.
True.
If we want to.
That's true.
Is that the case here?
Okay, here's my next question. And I felt like I had an answer to this for a long time. And then I was hanging out with a friend who is from Kansas City. And she said something that like blew my mind from her perspective, which is the next question is Kansas City by way of the Kansas border, is it in the Midwest?
Yes.
Oh,
I have strong feelings about this.
Okay.
As a Midwesterner, I'm curious to know your thoughts because you're not from here. But
yeah.
for me, Kansas is Midwest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm from New York, so basically anything south of Pennsylvania is considered the South to me. So
Okay.
if we're gonna talk about like Louisville, I thought Louisville was in the South, and I learned that was not the case. That is a Midwestern city.
But it is a little
Is it,
bit. But
though?
is it?
It
No.
is that
No.
direction.
I think it's
don't
southeast.
think it is.
Louisville wants to be Southern, and
Yeah.
that's what. And
okay.
I think if you want to be Southern, that makes you Southern.
Ooh, I don't know. I think Nashville is really Southern,
Sure.
and Louisville is the gradient
Louisville,
away.
Louisville's in the Ohio Valley, and I think that the other, if you want to get really into the nitty gritty of it, I think that you could call Louisville also more like Appalachia a little bit.
Yeah, you could get there.
If you want to nitpick. I always considered, I grew up in Ohio. I always considered that Cincinnati, Louisville, or if you go east, that West Virginia area to be, you move into, it's south of the glacier. It's, you have like a little bit, you've got the valley, you got the Ohio Valley, you got the mountainous ranges. Well, mountain's too strong, but it does move into Smokies eventually.
Yep.
And then I just do think that area is a little bit south-ish. I have never once in my life considered Kansas to be a Midwestern state.
No,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never considered
What do
Kansas.
you consider it then?
So I had to reflect upon this because my friend from Kansas City said yes. Is first of all, I think that the Missouri border messes with it a little bit because I also consider Missouri to be the South.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Especially the further you go.
Yep.
I also have always considered being in Ohio, which I think a lot of people consider the easternmost point of the Midwest.
Yep.
So my controversial one is I think Kansas, I think it's Plains, but I've always
there.
I've also Pennsylvania. I think Pittsburgh is also a Midwestern city.
Oh, see, this is
Whoa.
where
I-
Now that's
I
controversial.
think
I
that's mindset though. That goes right back into the mindset. thing
It's
of,
Rust
like,
Belt.
the-
It's Rust Belt. It's near the Great Lakes. It's right next to Cleveland. I associate the Midwest with the Rust Belt. I associate it with the Great Lakes. Maybe Iowa.
Iowa's a
I
stretch for me.
associate it with agriculture and cornfields.
That's
Shout
yeah,
out
but
to
so are the
Indiana.
Plains though.
So this is where I would,
Yeah.
like, I think my, it kind of works. You grew up in Ohio. I grew up in Indiana. All of my reference is one state to the left.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
I don't consider Pennsylvania, but I do consider Kansas.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I definitely, it's Great Lakes, it's Rust Belt. I also always associate it with the two NFL divisions with
Central and West.
Yeah, well, you've got Minnesota, Chicago, Green Bay, and Detroit, and then you've got Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. But Baltimore is also Cleveland, as we recall in NFL history.
True. Yep.
So
I think mine is also largely shaped by the Big Ten. Or at least
yeah, but
what
the
it was
Big
when I was
Ten,
a
they've
kid.
expanded
Yeah,
out
now-
though.
I'm saying now
But it's
we've
not.
got, like,
It's
New
not
Jersey is the Big
real.
Ten.
Now we've got
Rutgers.
Rutgers. And
Yeah,
it's
no.
not the way-
No.
The when it was 10 teams.
Oh, we've got
it
the
made sense.
encyclopedia. Logan.
Oh, here we go. Thank you. Thank you.
Here we go. The Midwest, as defined by the federal government, which they can't tell me what to do, but states of Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri. No way. North Dakota.
All right.
Absolutely not.
We're all
Nebraska,
agreed the
Ohio,
Dakotas
South
are out.
Dakotas
Dakota,
are out.
and Wisconsin.
No.
No.
No, let's throw Idaho in there.
No way.
Well, hold on now. When's the last time we used an encyclopedia, Logan? Does he have the Britannica on his
It's all
shelf?
online.
When it was a DVD
Right.
or a CD.
Yeah,
ROM,
exactly.
Or a thing on your
Britannica?
computer.
Is
Yeah.
this Wiki?
I
or
looked
is
it up
this-
on JSTOR, maybe.
Ooh, there you go.
But yeah, so anyway, so if there was going to be an argument between Kansas City and Chicago, I do not think it should be pizza-based. I do not think it should be barbecue-based, not food-based at all. Two very different cities.
Too cliche.
Yeah.
Two very different cities in terms of
different.
food.
Yeah.
I
just
think it
realized
should be...
I'm wearing a shirt from
Yeah.
Joe's Barbecue. It used to be Oklahoma Joe's, but it's in Kansas City. It's the one
Yeah.
that's like a gas station.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
No.
The Z-Man sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. I had to buy a T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's not
I'm-
even... I would say it's not even a conversation.
I'm
Not even a
repping
conversation,
KC
right?
today,
They
which
both
is a
have
little
their
weird.
strengths.
But I do think that we should have to ask every single player on both teams if Kansas City is in the Midwest.
All right,
and that should
social
be the
media
basis
man.
of
We
this
need the
rivalry.
admins.
Yeah, we need
on
the
this.
admins to
exactly.
get
But
on
I
that.
do think there's the potential for like an east-west of the Midwest rivalry. So like
Sure.
using the Mississippi as the dividing line, Chicago's the eastern side of the Midwest representative. Kansas City being the west side. Again,
I just think if Kansas City's in the Midwest, so are the Dakotas, and that
No,
I
the
cannot
Dakotas
stand.
so far north.
No, that's
my
Canada.
problem. Then you're going back
Anyway, see, it's too much. It's too much. I've introduced too much at the end of the show.
It's like
I love this.
you're just taking a slice of the middle of the country, and I don't think that's what the Midwest is.
yeah, well,
Let's be honest.
What have we
TBD.
solved? Have we
TBD.
solved
Well,
anything?
I
No.
guess the stance will be determined based on who wins this game tomorrow.
Yes. Oh.
Who gets the right
Yeah.
to be called the
Play
no, what if,
for-
what if
yeah.
it's a draw?
Yeah. What?
What if it's a draw?
Then we
Don't-
try
don't
again next
introduce
time.
that.
Well, then
Don't-
that would be very Midwestern, though, wouldn't it?
It
Just
would
kind of
be.
shake hands
Very
and say
polite.
everybody
So,
gets to.
you know, did a
everybody
good job there.
everybody gets corn. You know, everybody gets lasagna. Anyway.
A casserole for everyone.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll be talking about a Red Stars dub. We are gonna get a little bit of an international break after all this is over, which will be nice. But would love for the Red Stars to close this one out with another win. You guys let's close it out. You got a player you want to watch tomorrow?
Oh.
I'd love to see Bianca St. George just
Yeah,
step
I
it up
agree.
and-
Why are you
and get her
taking
to the,
mine?
Yeah.
She's kind of my favorite Red Star right
Yeah.
now.
She's doing great.
Yeah, she's doing great.
She's done a good job like over the course of the season. I love her to just get that extra gear going.
Yeah.
You have those after playing 2 weeks straight.
I'll jump on the international vibe. I'll say Ava Cook. I want Ava
Ooh,
Cook to
yep.
ball out.
Great choice.
Yeah. What about you?
I was also gonna say Bianca St. George, but
I'm sure you have a different reason than I do.
she's always on the same side I'm taking pictures on, so I see her a lot.
I
and
love
I
that.
just appreciate it. And that's ADHD. You put something in front of my face, I'm like, oh,
Hello.
they're good. I think the whole back line, honestly, I want to see how they hold up and how they adjust, and that's
Yeah.
gonna be my choice.
I think Zoe Morse is going to have another monster game, and I think she's up for it.
Yeah.
So,
Get in there,
I'm stoked
kid.
to see it. Well, thanks for joining me, you guys. Thanks for stepping in, and thanks everybody for hanging out. This has been CHGO Red Stars. We'll be back next week.